Now in theaters is the new Amazon Studios release Air, directed by and co-starring Ben Affleck, stars Matt Damon as the man at Nike who brought Michael Jordan into the fold and who helped create the Air Jordan sneaker. Now, I saw this trailer in the theater a while ago, and I was like, it's a really weird idea for a movie. It's a movie about a shoe. It's a movie about how Nike signed Michael Jordan to be their spokesperson, to be their star athlete, and to launch the Air Jordan shoe line. It's a really weird idea for a film. To me, now I'm a guy who does not care about sports at all. I am partial to curling. And I like the X Games because it's essentially like, you know, 1,000 Evel Knievels just doing crazy stuff, and I can get into that. But I'm not a sports guy. So if sports movies come along, I don't really care. I'm not saying that I've never seen compelling sports movies because I've seen a lot. But I've also seen sports movies that are all about sports, and I don't care about sports. So the idea that this isn't even about sports, which it's not, it's about a shoe. How compelling can this movie be? Well, the answer is it's very compelling. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I just got home from seeing this in the theater, and it's a good drama. It's a good comedic. I say comedic because it's got a lot of light moments with the cast. Drama about the inner workings of Nike. I'm going to keep talking about this movie, and to a lot of you, it's going to sound like, yeah, you're not selling me on this. This sounds boring. This movie there's no real basketball scene in this movie. You don't really see Michael Jordan except in some clips in this movie. It's really about the guys at Nike who worked the deal, who figured out how to hook Jordan away from the other shoe companies that he was very set to go to, and how this thing happened. And again, what a weird I'm going to keep saying this because I can't get over this, that I enjoyed it as much as I did, because it's a very, very specific story that, okay, 12:30 show on a Wednesday, and there were at least 20 people there, which is a lot for any matinee. I see a lot of matinees, and even for the big Hollywood Marvel movies, you don't get 20 people there unless it's something really, really anticipated. So a very diverse crowd in terms of everything that you would say diverse about, and teenagers, the elderly, me, which falls somewhere in between teenagers and the elderly. And it's just really well made. I think Ben Affleck makes good movies. I think he's a better, and I like him overall as an actor, but I think Ben Affleck is a better director than he is actor. He makes pretty consistently good films, and him being involved in the whole Matt and Ben thing, you know, Affleck and Damon together is always kind of fun on screen, and their interplay in the film is great. Damon is great. Everybody in this is really solid. Viola Davis plays Michael Jordan's mother, and Chris Tucker. Let's talk about Chris Tucker for a second. There was a time when Chris Tucker first hit the scene in Fifth Element, and I knew him predominantly as, you know, Jackie Chan's co-star in the Rush Hour movies, and I found him very annoying and very grating. And there was a time in his heyday that if Chris Tucker's name was on a film, that was enough for me to probably not see a film. It is totally the opposite now. Ever since Silver Linings Playbook, when he was in it, and I was like, oh, it's Chris Tucker, and I was like, wow, he's really good. The toned down Chris Tucker I like, and I really liked him in this too as one of the Nike executives. Affleck plays the president of Nike, who's this weird Zen kind of guy who's not quite so sure about this crackpot idea that Damon has. Damon is this guy who's been their basketball scout, the guy who scouts high school students who are going to be big players to maybe come and work with Nike, and he has this crazy idea to basically put it all on Jordan. And you see the design of the shoe, you see the various aspects of the company who worked together to make this happen. Jason Bateman is in it, more or less as Jason Bateman, though he has a great moment in this. So the film is set in 1984. It is, and they very repeatedly remind you that it's set in 1984, from people at their desks at Nike, you know, playing with Trivial Pursuit cards, to people playing the handheld electronic games, to car phones, to whatever. It doesn't go over the top. It kind of walks up to the edge of going over the top with the, hey, it's 1984 thing. It opens with a montage of news and pop culture clips from 84, and it does something, it's going to be a side rant here, it does something that bugs me. This is something that movies have been doing for a while now. A lot of documentaries have been doing this, and it drives me crazy. They use footage from the past, be it a movie clip or a music video or a commercial or a news clip, and they just pull it off YouTube. And they don't even pull the highest quality version off YouTube. And I'm watching this movie that this is an Amazon Studios. Amazon Studios has money, and this montage at the beginning, half of these clips look terrible. They use a clip of that very famous Apple commercial where it's like 1984, George Orwell, and some athlete comes through and throws something at a screen and it shatters. And it's only on screen for a few moments, but I'm in a movie theater. I'm looking at a giant screen. It looks terrible. I noticed this at home when I'm watching stuff, and it's like, on the way back, we did a quick little Google search, and you can pull up on your phone a 4K scan of that commercial. Why did this movie use something that looked terrible? I don't know if they're trying to say this is what TV looked like. It wasn't in HD. It looks terrible. Filmmakers, documentarians, unless it's a cost thing, unless it's cheaper to just pull a clip from YouTube and not pay anybody, license the footage. I cannot believe that major news organizations don't have original quality copies of their footage. I can't believe Major League Sports or Major NCAA or whatever, basketball, doesn't have better copies than a home recording that somebody uploaded to YouTube at 240p. It looks terrible on the big screen, and it yanks me out of it. I was alive in 1984. I know what TV looked like in 1984. It didn't look like really, really bad web video. That aside, they nailed the era. They nailed the music. It's one of those things where there's, again, back to the licensing thing, they have money because it is like the greatest hits of 1984, and 1984 was robust with great hits. And so that kept my toe tapping. I felt like it was set in the era it was set, and a lot of movies don't really nail that. A lot of times, to me, films feel like modern people wearing old clothes and have if they even bother, a fake old haircut. And there's a trailer for this movie called Stillwater that's coming out, which could be a fine film, but it looked totally phony for the era that it was supposed to be set in. Air nails the era, and Air nails the music. And I was starting to say there's a sequence where Jason Bateman is talking about the song Born in the USA, and this is something that I've said a million times. And he's like, I love this song. I listen to it in the car on the way to work. I get really pumped. I sing along. It just makes me want to love America. And then I listen to the lyrics, and I realized this is not a pro-America happy song. This is totally the opposite. It was just nice to hear that enunciated in a film. So you don't actually see Michael Jordan in this. You see some clips of Michael Jordan playing basketball here and there and photos of him, but they go out of their way to not show you an actor pretending to be Michael Jordan in this movie, and I was okay with that. As much as I've been saying Michael Jordan and Air Jordan, this movie isn't really about Michael Jordan. It's not really about basketball so much. It's about a corporation trying to make a deal. This is a backroom deals movie. This movie, if you go thinking you're going to see a lot of basketball stuff or Jordan stuff, you're not. You're going to see a lot of guys in suits, in boardrooms, talking about stuff. This is a people in rooms talking about stuff movie. To which I say, this probably will play just as well at home. You won't get the great surround sound that the theater have. You won't have the immersive theatrical experience, no matter how big you think your TV is. Everything's better in a theater. But I will say in this case, this won't lose much at home. And being that it's Amazon Studios, it's probably going to show up on Amazon Prime. But I'm glad I was able to see it in the theater. I like movies in theaters. I like seeing a movie with an audience. And as I said, again, surprisingly big audience for a movie about a shoe. And guys in boardrooms talking for a 12:30 on a Wednesday. But it was great to see it with a crowd because it was very funny at times. And it was great to hear a collective audience laughing at things. Here's another thing about this movie. And all of this is me saying, this is a good movie. This is a really well-made film. We know how this story ends. The whole movie is, I wish somebody could watch this not knowing how the story ends, but the story is about Matt Damon trying to get the family and Michael Jordan to sign a deal so that Air Jordans can become a thing. We all know Air Jordans are a thing. We all know where this is going. And still, the people behind me, when it became closer and closer and sort of obvious that the deal was going to be done in this movie, that it was going to happen for Nike and Michael Jordan, woman behind me was like, yes, that's good filmmaking. If you can know the outcome of a story and still find that journey to the outcome that exciting, that's a well-made film. I couldn't even tell you how long this movie was. I think it was roughly about 2 hours. It could have been even longer. It was breezy. It was dramatic. It was funny. It was interesting. Dare I say a movie about a shoe was exciting, inspirational? It was all of that. Now, some will look at this and say this is just a film that glorifies corporate America and profits and blah, 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 and all that, whatever. I thought this was a good movie. I thought Viola Davis was wonderful as Michael Jordan's mother. And they do give you some facts along the way toward the end of this movie where they'll say, oh, if we're lucky, we'll make this much money on this shoe. And then you get the facts. This is how much money this shoe made. This is how huge a thing this was. And it set precedence with how athletes and endorsements work. And they give you the history at the end, which I love. I always love when you see the actual people you've been watching actors portray. You get a still or you get some video and you hear how their lives played out and what they did, subsequent after this. And it was just, I'll start talking in circles if I go on much longer. This is a really well-made film. It's very entertaining. Again, you may think that sounds like it's a boring movie. It's not. If you don't care about sports, I don't care about sports in the least. I still found this interesting. One other quibble that I'll have, and again, it has to do with footage and stock footage. Toward the end, there's the big moment where the family is meeting with Nike and Matt Damon gives a big speech and he talks about, here's how your future is going to go. And they Affleck cuts in clips of later in Michael Jordan's life, clips from newspapers, clips from the news about where his life did go. That took me out of the movie a little bit. I regretted on his behalf them doing that because it removes you from the linear flow that you're on. It's sort of like it spoiled it a little bit. But again, very, very minor quibbles. It's all about technical stuff with me anyway. I really enjoyed this. I turned to the elderly lady next to me who we had chatted a little before the movie started, and she's like, "That was really good." And everybody, people applauded in that movie. People were like walking out of this movie happy. And if you can make a movie, and if it's not a drama or about the Holocaust, and have people walking out of the movie happy, you did a good job. So like it means anything that I'm telling Ben Affleck, he did a good job. Ben Affleck makes good movies. So in theaters now, soon to be on Amazon, and if you watch this review down the line, I'm sure it's available streaming everywhere else, is Air,